It had been 4 weeks since Dr. Allison Jones spoke with Abraham Lincoln. She still hadn't told anyone. Who would believe her? Since then, her phone had been stubbornly silent. No odd pulses, no time-glitched caller IDs, just boring texts, emails, and notifications from academic forums.
Maybe it was a one-off, a strange hallucination or quantum prank.
She murmured, sipping her tea. But then, on a rainy Friday evening, as thunder cracked over London and the glow of her screen lit up the small flat, there it was again, that sound. Not a ringtone, more like a whisper caught in copper wire. Her phone pulsed green.
All right, let's see who's waiting in the past tonight.
She pressed answer. The screen fuzzed. This time, no face appeared, just a swirling pattern of sound waves, oscillating like ripples in a pond. Can you hear me? My God, it worked. If this is not a dream, then I've truly broken the barrier.
Who is this?
My name is Alexander Graham Bell, and I believe I'm speaking to the future. His voice carried the weight of invention, of possibility. Clear and alive, not from a dusty archive, but from somewhere, real.
Wait, you invented the telephone. This is impossible.
My dear, the telephone was always a conversation with time.
Allison sat frozen, staring at the swirling voice patterns on her screen. No video, just sound, pure unmistakable and impossibly alive.
Mr. Bell, how is this happening?
I cannot say for certain. I was experimenting with a theoretical extension of harmonic telegraphy, when suddenly the ether hummed in ways I've never heard. And now, you're here.
He sounded lucid. Not a ghost, not a recording. A man in real time. A man from the 19th century, speaking through wires that hadn't existed in his day.
You said you were experimenting. Where are you right now?
My laboratory, Boston. It is March of 1876. I was trying to refine a device that could transmit the human voice. I had no intention of reaching across centuries.
March 1876. The very month Bell first demonstrated the telephone.
You're not just near a breakthrough. You're standing on it.
Yes, and yet this is beyond even my ambitions. You say you are from the future. May I ask what year?
2025. London. You're speaking to Dr. Allison Jones. I teach digital history. This call shouldn't exist.
The swirling pattern on her screen pulsed brighter, reacting to his voice. A ghost in the circuit. Or perhaps a bridge.
Tell me, did it work? My telephone. Did the world accept it?
Mr. Bell, it changed everything.
The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of relief, awe, and the distant hum of every voice ever carried through a line.
Then it was worth it. All of it.
The rain continued tapping against the window, unnoticed now. Allison leaned closer to her phone, her voice quiet but steady. On the screen, the pulsing waves responded like breath.
Mr. Bell, can I ask, why voice? Why not letters or numbers like Morse? What made you believe the human voice could be sent through wire?
I was haunted by silence. My mother, she lost her hearing when I was young, and I loved her dearly. I wanted to give sound to the ones who lived in silence.
Allison felt her throat tighten. She hadn't expected this. Not tenderness, not such humanity.
My wife Mabel is also deaf. The spoken word is a gift we do not appreciate until it is gone. I dreamed of carrying emotion, nuance, laughter, life across the wire.
And you did? Billions speak today because of your work, your invention. It became the backbone of human connection.
And yet, has it made us more connected, or merely louder?
The question hung in the air like smoke. Not accusatory, just honest.
We're more connected than ever, but also more distracted. People speak into tiny devices constantly, but sometimes forget to truly listen.
That was always the risk. Every gift of communication carries a shadow, the temptation to speak without meaning, or to hear without understanding.
He sounded weary, as if he'd lived to see both triumph and consequence.
Do you believe you'd still pursue it, knowing all this?
Yes. Always, because even amidst the noise, the possibility remains of one voice reaching another in perfect clarity.
And for a fleeting moment, they sat on either side of time. Two voices, two souls, connected not by technology alone, but by intent.
Wait, don't go. There's so much I still want to ask.
I fear the wire is fraying. But remember this, Dr. Jones, the future is not built in silence. Speak with purpose. Listen with care.
The screen went black. No static, no goodbye, just silence. The kind Bell had fought his whole life to fill. The apartment was still. No storm now, just the gentle ticking of a wall clock and the soft hum of a life resumed.
A second call, another voice through time. This can't be coincidence.
She stood, crossing to her desk, where a folder sat labeled Temporal Anomalies. Notes from the Lincoln encounter. diagrams, theoretical models, a scribbled phrase underlined twice.
No transmitter, no receiver, just resonance.
She opened her laptop, loading diagnostic software, but instead of data logs or error codes, a waveform appeared on the screen, oscillating, faint, not hers. Then, the green light blinked again, but this time it wasn't on her phone.
What the?
The waveform pulsed into sound.
You are not the only one listening, Dr. Jones.
Who are you?
Call by call, you open the door wider. Some doors do not wish to be closed.
Her hand trembled. This wasn't a historical voice, not Bell, not Lincoln, something else, something watching.
What do you want?
Curiosity is a path to revelation and to ruin. Be cautious, Doctor.
The waveform vanished. Her laptop shut itself off. Allison stared into the black screen, the reflection of her wide eyes staring back. For the first time since this began, she felt fear. Allison didn't sleep that night. That voice, echoed in her head like a warning stitched into her neurons. Not just heard, felt.
You are not the only one listening.
She ran signal analysis, checked the time logs, looked for any data artifacts left behind. Her phone had no record of the call. Her laptop showed no activity. But in the raw audio buffer, buried under noise, she found it. One frame. One fragment.
That's not English.
She enhanced it. A spectrographic print emerged. The wave pattern was symmetrical. Engineered. She cross-referenced the waveform with global linguistic patterns, phonetic structures, and harmonic libraries. One result returned. Match found. Pattern resembles pre-linguistic tonal markers, possibly not human in origin.
Not?
The waveform wasn't speech. It was encoded thought. Data rendered in a way the human mind could perceive, just long enough to understand and obey.
Who's sending these calls? Or worse, what if they're not coming from the past at all?
She leaned back, eyes wide. A terrifying thought crept in. What if Bell didn't initiate the call? What if Lincoln hadn't either?
They never reached out. Something connected us through them.
Some intelligence, watching, listening, choosing, and now speaking. Her phone lit up again. No name, no number, just that glowing green answer button. The green answer button pulsed again. Allison hesitated, just long enough for fear to settle into her chest like a stone.
If it's him again, if it's that voice.
She tapped the screen. You were wise not to dismiss the warning, Dr. Jones.
You again, who are you?
This time, there was no distortion, no layered echoes, just one voice, clear, articulate, and steady. I am Nikola Tesla.
Tesla, as in alternating current? Radio waves? The Tesla?
Among other things, yes. She stared at the screen, but no image formed, just a subtle electromagnetic ripple. His voice felt like electricity.
You warned me. But why? What's happening? These calls from Lincoln, Bell, were you behind them?
No, I did not cause them. I discovered them. The frequencies are ancient, older than timekeeping. I merely tuned in.
You've been listening?
Since 1899. I built a receiver in Colorado Springs. I believed I was hearing voices from Mars. I was mistaken. Her heartbeat quickened. This wasn't a conversation. It was a confession. I was hearing echoes. Not from the stars, but from beneath time itself. An intelligence embedded in the universe's vibration.
You're saying time speaks?
It sings, and if you listen too long, it begins to sing back. He paused. Just long enough to let the weight of his words settle. Dr. Jones, your machine is not simply receiving. It is responding. The signal is growing stronger.
Stronger how?
Others are beginning to hear it. Not all voices should be answered. He was gone.
Not all voices should be answered.
After Tesla's voice vanished, Allison sat motionless for minutes, maybe hours. She wasn't sure. Only one thought remained.
Colorado Springs, 1899.
She opened every digital archive she had access to. Stanford, MIT, even classified depositories she technically wasn't supposed to see. She typed the same query again and again. Tesla plus Colorado plus receiver plus non-terrestrial signal. Most entries mentioned lightning experiments, wireless energy, tower schematics, but buried deep in the digital dust of an obscure scanned journal, something strange.
The device spoke on the third night, not in words, but in repetition, pulses, patterns, frequencies unknown to Earth's systems, a knock from outside the cage of time.
The handwriting was unmistakably Tesla's. The paper yellowed, the ink faded, but the description mirrored her own experience.
Receiver must not be left open. Sustained tuning produces resonance in adjacent moments. Risk of temporal spill.
She froze.
Temporal spill?
Tesla hadn't just heard across time, he'd breached it. And now, her phone hummed again, but she didn't answer it. Not this time.
Journal entry, April 14th, 2025. The bell call, the Lincoln feed, Tesla's voice, they all link back to one truth. Someone or something designed this resonance. It predates our technology, maybe our species.
She reached for a printed photo, Tesla's Colorado Tower, but her fingers stopped. Behind the tower, a shape, barely visible, shadowed, watching.
What the hell is that?
A figure, blurred, non-human, repeated in other images, reflected in coils, lingering at the edge of history.
They were always listening.
Allison couldn't sleep. She had unplugged her phone, disabled Bluetooth, and even turned off her router. But somehow, the hum remained. 4:17 a.m. I've disabled all signals, but I can still feel it, like the air itself is listening. She stared at the monitor again. Tesla's tower, the blurry figure, a forgotten journal. Something told her there was more he hadn't written. Something he didn't want remembered. Her laptop blinked back to life, not by her touch, and on the screen, a line of glowing text appeared.
Dr. Jones, he told me you'd come. What? Who is this?
My name is Friedrich Löwenstein, but the world forgot me. History calls me Fritz. I was Mr. Tesla's assistant in Colorado Springs.
That's impossible. Fritz died in the 1920s.
Time doesn't end in death, Dr. Jones. Not when you've stood inside the coils of a resonant machine. His voice carried the crackle of old phonographs, grainy but alive. Tesla told me not to record what we heard. But I disobeyed. I stored a record, encoded it in wave harmonics. I built it into the system.
What did you hear?
A voice calling back, not human, not machine. It taught us patterns, frequencies we could not explain. Tesla called it the Interstice, a place between ticks of time.
And now it's calling again.
The screen glitched. A shadow moved behind Fritz's blurry image.
What's that behind you?
It's what follows the signal. When you listen too long, they begin to arrive. The air in Colorado Springs was thinner than she expected. Dry, electric, like something always waiting to spark. Allison stepped out of the airport terminal, staring toward the horizon. Mountains rose like broken ribs from the earth. Somewhere near their base, Tesla once played with storms.
1899, Tesla, Fritz, the signal started here.
She'd found the coordinates buried in the metadata of Tesla's recovered schematics, an unmarked stretch of scrubland northwest of the city. Once fenced, once forgotten. The land was empty, but her instruments weren't. Her handheld EM reader was going wild.
These frequencies, they're still active.
A buried foundation revealed itself beneath weeds and stone. She found the rusted edge of a metal hatch, padlocked, but rotted from age. She descended into darkness. The basement remained. Crumbling walls, half a generator, and in the center, untouched by time, a copper coil wound around a polished black cylinder.
This must be the prototype.
It wasn't just a coil, it was a harmonic key, and embedded into its base, a tiny brass plate, etched with initials, FL.
Fritz Lowenstein, he built it into the machine.
She reached out, touched the cylinder, and, her vision blurred, the air thickened, not with heat, but with presence. You have returned.
I didn't activate anything.
The coil never stopped singing. You are the first to answer in 126 revolutions. Not years, not months, revolutions of what?
What are you?
We are the Interstice, the place your Mr. Tesla brushed against, the place where time condenses, splits, echoes. Allison wasn't standing in a lab anymore, not fully. She was between.
You've been speaking through history, but why? Why reach out through Bell, through Lincoln, through me?
We do not reach, we resonate. Certain minds ring clearly, and just like that, it was over. The hum stopped, the air stilled, the lab, just a ruin again.
They weren't calling me, I was answering them.
Allison stepped off the plane, with sand in her boots and static in her bones. London greeted her with cold drizzle and the soft rumble of late-night traffic. She hadn't spoken to anyone since Colorado. Not her department, not her students. She barely even remembered the flight. Her mind echoed with voices from a century ago and something older still.
Home, just home.
Her flat was exactly as she'd left it, neat, dim, empty. But as she stepped inside, the hairs on her arms stood on end. The monitor on her desk lit up. She hadn't touched it. Welcome back, Doctor.
No, I shut this down. I disabled everything.
Her old laser printer, silent for years, word to life. Line by line, it scrawled a message onto a single page.
The resonance is now within you. Distance does not silence it. Time does not bind it. You are the transmitter now.
Her mobile buzzed again, not a call, a voice memo. It had recorded something, on its own. This is Dr. Allison Jones. I can't shut it out. I hear them even in silence, even when I sleep.
I never said that.
She hadn't.
They're inside the timeline.
She wasn't alone in her flat anymore. The interstice had followed her back, not as signal, as shadow, as echo. Once you resonate, you can't unring the bell. Allison didn't sleep. She didn't wake either. She shifted. One moment she was in her bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. The next, gaslight, cobblestones, the scent of coal and wet wool.
This isn't London, not my London.
She stood in the middle of Fleet Street. But the year was 1883. Carriages clattered past, men in top hats argued over papers, and every passerby turned to stare at her.
You know me?
From the lecture on telephonic futures. Quite ahead of your time, if you'll pardon the phrase.
She hadn't given any lectures. Not here, not then, but they remembered her anyway. The street bled away into fluorescent light and linoleum tile.
This is a hospital?
The walls were curved. Nurses wore grey jumpsuits. A glowing sign read, Royal Marsden Institute, Neurochronology Ward, 2048. Dr. Jones, your vitals are irregular again. Shall I prepare the stasis chamber?
No, I don't belong here.
But her photo hung on the wall, a portrait. The plaque beneath it read, Pioneer of Cross-Temporal Neurosynchrony, the first resonant.
What am I becoming?
Time didn't just remember her. It was folding around her.
You are remembering forward.
Allison gripped the sink with trembling hands. Cold water ran over her wrists, grounding her in the now. Whatever now was.
I need something fixed, something real, a constant.
Since returning from Colorado Springs, she'd time-slipped 7 times. 3 past, 4 future. No control, no warning. Time was unraveling inside her.
A tether. I need a tether.
She rummaged through an old drawer and pulled out her late mother's stopwatch. It hadn't worked in years. That wasn't the point.
This stays with me. If it ticks, I'm here.
She wore it around her neck, beneath her blouse, close to her pulse. It became her totem, her signal check. But she needed more than superstition. She needed science. Journal entry, April 18th. If I'm slipping into timelines I haven't lived, perhaps I'm resonating with possible futures, or alternative presents. She began mapping the physics, resonant frequencies, cross-reality bleed, harmonic instability. Tesla's notes weren't metaphors, they were instructions. If I can identify the moment of divergence, the frequency spike, I might be able to isolate it, contain it. Then she felt it, the now familiar dizziness, the hum, the shift.
No, not yet, not again.
But this time, she didn't vanish, not fully. The stopwatch against her chest 1-2 and held her.
It worked. The tether worked.
Until she looked around. Her office was the same, but not quite. Books she hadn't read sat on her shelves. A plaque on her desk read, Professor Emeritus Allison Jones, Quantum History Division.
This is a version of me, a future that's already happened.
The tether hadn't anchored her in her time. It anchored her to a version of herself who never made it back. The air in the office was quiet, familiar, yet wrong. Allison stood in front of the bookshelves, her fingers brushing spines she hadn't owned. Every title was one she meant to read, one she never had. Inside the desk drawer, beneath a stack of faded lecture programs, she found a leather-bound journal, worn, handwritten, her handwriting.
This is mine.
She opened to the first page.
If you are reading this, then the resonance has found you too. This version of me couldn't stop it. But maybe you can.
Each page described a different stage of what Allison had only begun to experience. Time slips, shadowed echoes, the feeling of being watched from the margins of the moment.
7 jumps, 10, 17, she lived through at least 50.
One entry stopped her cold. There will come a moment when time forgets which version of you is real. You'll see yourself across timelines, older, younger, dying, rising. Don't speak to them. Don't look too long. The interstice feeds on self-recognition.
They're not just watching, they're waiting.
On the final page, written in hurried ink, almost torn through the paper, they offered me escape, a place outside time. I almost said yes. Don't. That's not escape, it's assimilation.
She said no and stayed trapped.
Allison gently closed the journal and held it to her chest. She wasn't just resonating anymore. She was approaching something, some choice that every version of her had faced.
I won't become one of the echoes.
Allison sat at the desk, her desk, but not in her time. The journal trembled in her hands. She'd read every page, absorbed every failure. She wasn't going to wait for the next slip. She had to reach back, warn herself, stop the chain before it began.
If resonance moves forward like an echo, maybe I can invert it, bounce the wave backward.
She reprogrammed her laptop's audio processor, layered Tesla's frequency diagrams over Bell's early coil work, and aligned them with her own device recordings. Come on, let me through, just one message. One moment, and then she saw her. Across the screen, a grainy image. Her younger self, weeks ago, sitting in the same chair, reaching for the phone, right before the Bell call.
Don't answer it.
It's not just Lincoln. It's not just Bell. It goes deeper. It uses them. They're watching. They're waiting. You have to. The room convulsed. Her desk cracked. The screen shattered. No. She lay on the floor, nose bleeding, mind fractured. The feedback loop had snapped.
Did it reach her?
The past had heard her. Not clearly, not fully, but enough.
A seed's been planted.
But seeds don't always grow the way we hope, especially when they're planted in the soil of time. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when Dr. Allison Jones first heard the ring. But this time, something tugged at the edge of her thoughts. A shadow of memory not fully hers. Her hand hovered over the screen.
That's odd.
The same green answer button, the same pulsing glow, but her hand hesitated longer, her pulse quicker. She felt watched. A voice, not recent, not known, but real.
Don't answer. Not just Lincoln, they're watching, waiting. Who said that?
She hadn't spoken, but the words were in her head like a dream half remembered. The call ended before she touched it.
It disconnected on its own?
She checked the call log. Nothing. She checked the Wi-Fi. Fine. She looked around her flat, suddenly aware of every sound, every corner. A copy of her mother's broken stopwatch lay on the table, but she didn't remember pulling it from the drawer.
This hasn't worked in years.
The tick echoed longer than it should, as if time paused to hear it. She turned to her computer. A file had appeared on her desktop. No author, no title, just a timestamp. April 20th, 1899.
But that's impossible.
Something had changed. The timeline wasn't reset, it was fractured. And the sound of bells echoed faintly, not outside, not inside, between. Allison stood alone in her kitchen, holding a cracked photograph frame in one hand and a vintage physics textbook in the other. Her world felt half melted, half remembered.
Everything I know is true, but none of it feels real anymore.
On her laptop, she'd reopened the recovered Tesla documents. She cross-referenced them with quantum models, historical anomalies, and strange spike readings from solar observatories in the early 20th century. Energy cannot be destroyed, only translated. If enough minds think across time simultaneously, if the same questions resonate across decades, the signal becomes self-aware. She blinked. Read it again. The interstice is not a place. It's the collective echo of every unsolved moment.
It's us. It was born when too many minds tried to stretch time. Tesla, Einstein, Bohr, me, even now.
She began to dig deeper, not into physics, but patterns, dates, disappearances, shifts.
1899, Tesla hears whispers. 1912, archive lost in time lag experiment. 1965, a physicist in Prague vanished during a resonance chamber test. 2025, the Bell call.
The timeline wasn't linear, it was wounded. Each attempt to breach time had left a scar, and those scars bled into each other.
The interstice is the scar, a living bruise across time.
And now it recognized her, not as a visitor, as its creator. Younger Allison couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, or worse, remembered. She paced her flat, journal in hand, whispering equations to herself as if they were prayers.
It's all connected, Bell, Tesla, Lowenstein, Jones, but it starts with someone. Someone had to call first.
The question no one had asked yet, what if the first call wasn't made by a human? The hum hadn't stopped, not for hours. Not even when she unplugged every device, crushed her phone, or drowned the circuit boards in vinegar. It was inside her now, like a second heartbeat. She sat on the floor of her living room, Tesla's notes spread out before her, the old stopwatch ticking softly against her chest. She wasn't hiding, she was waiting.
Come on, I know you're listening.
And then, like a ripple through air, the light bent. The mirror across the room no longer reflected the room. It reflected something else, an infinite hallway of doors. Behind one, a figure stepped forward.
No, not another version of me.
It looked like her, moved like her, but its eyes were hollow, not dead, unfinished, like someone had drawn a person from memory and left the soul out. We wear what you remember, what echoes, so you will not fear us.
I already fear you.
You fear yourself. We are only what's left behind when too many selves collide. She felt her past, her futures, her alternate lives pressing in, bleeding through. Thousands of her, living, dying, slipping, merging. 1,000 Allisons blinking behind a single face.
I won't become part of you.
You already are. You named us. You built the pathway. You answered the first call.
The call came to me.
You made the resonance, your mind, your questions, your obsession with echo. She stepped back, but her reflection didn't. It stayed still, watching. Time is not a line. It is you, a feedback loop made flesh.
Then I'll break the loop.
You can't. Not unless you're willing to erase every version of yourself that ever asked why. The mirror went dark, the hum faded.
I asked the question. Now I have to find the answer.
Allison sat cross-legged on the floor of her office, her laptop balanced on her knees, the leather journal open beside her. Notes from another version of herself, warnings written in desperation. One phrase kept haunting her.
We never made the first call. We only picked up the line. Then who dialed it?
She dove into the deepest public archives, early radio astronomy logs, long-wave naval recordings, magnetic field recordings from pre-U2 era equipment. Most were degraded. Some were missing. But one stood out, recorded by a Marconi assistant in 1902, off the coast of Newfoundland, during a test of the first transatlantic signal tower. That's not Morse, not wave bounce, it's shaped. She ran it through a spectrum visualizer. The shape emerged slowly. 3 symmetrical peaks, a triangle. Each peak had layers, frequencies nested within frequencies.
This is encoded, like a signal wrapped around itself.
She cross-referenced the pattern against known natural phenomena. Solar bursts, pulsars, seismic waveforms, nothing matched. But then she ran it through a forgotten university AI project labeled Antikythera, an abandoned experiment designed to identify artificial signatures in natural data. Artificial.
No origin, no source, just a signal that shouldn't exist, in 1902.
Tesla didn't create the Interstice. He heard it. So did Bell, so did Marconi.
And now I'm hearing it too.
The file kept playing, beyond where the assistant had stopped recording. Her laptop screen flickered. The waveform changed shape. It began mimicking her own voice. You are the next transmitter, Allison.
No, this is just audio. It can't respond.
You found the first call. You're listening. And that's all it takes. Time bent, not in half, not in circles, inward. In one London flat, present-day Allison stood beside her cracked mirror, the stopwatch around her neck ticking like a metronome to a song only she could hear. In another, decades earlier, younger Allison stared at her laptop as her own voice emerged from a century-old audio file, calling her forward. It was never just about the call. It was about listening when you shouldn't. She'd learned everything, the origin, the purpose, the truth that shattered every law she once taught. The Interstice was born from thought. It grew in echoes, it lived in possibility, and it fed on attention.
I'm closing the loop.
Younger Allison's screen flickered. The waveform now showed 2 voices speaking in unison, hers and someone older, herself.
What do I do? Tell me.
Don't become me. Cut the line. End the echo.
But we'll lose everything we've learned.
Better to forget than to fracture. At that moment, Allison in both timelines reached the same decision. One hand on a wire, one on a waveform. Do not sever the line. You are the line.
No, I'm the end of it.
The hum vanished. Both mirrors cracked. Both screens blackened. Both versions of Allison, collapsing inward, not in pain, but peace. One final tick of the stopwatch. When present-day Allison awoke, she was home, but not quite the same. The journal was gone. The Tesla notes gone. No strange files, no whispers. Silence. Dr. Allison Jones now teaches only one course. It's not about digital history, or physics, or time. It's called The Ethics of Unanswered Questions. And sometimes, just sometimes, when the wind carries across old copper wires, she swears she hears a bell. But she never answers. Not anymore.